Texas Governor Greg Abbott is set to sign new legislation that the legislators in the state have agreed to, and it would allow for gun carriers to carry handguns without a permit. This comes during the same weekend, by the way, where gun violence has exploded in the country. CNN reported that there were as many as 12 mass shootings over this past weekend alone. We'll get to those details in just a moment, but before I do so, let me go ahead and tell you more about House Bill 1927, which would eliminate the requirement for Texas residents to obtain a license to carry handguns if they're not barred by state or federal law from possessing a gun. Now, to some, that might seem like it's not unreasonable, except there are all sorts of loopholes to the federal background check, which we've covered in great detail. The federal background check does not apply to the sale of guns by private sellers. There's the gun show loophole, where someone who might have a criminal record or someone who has no business buying a gun is easily able to buy as many guns as he or she wants. You guys get the picture. So with all of these flaws in our gun laws already, loosening up whatever existing laws there are in Texas doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, but I'll give you more. So before approving the bill, the Senate did tack on several amendments to address concerns by law enforcement, because there are certain law enforcement departments who are concerned about loosened gun laws. It could affect them negatively, right? So what were those amendments? The final version of the bill keeps intact a number of changes that the Senate made to the House bill to assuage concerns from law enforcement community, including striking a provision that would have barred cops from questioning someone based on their possession of a handgun. I mean, cops are gonna wanna harass certain people if they have a handgun, right?
Of course. So let's keep it real here, right? And so some right wingers might say it's too cynical. I don't really care what they say. So let's
no, it's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Considering how cops react to a black individual with a gun, oftentimes with a licensed gun, as was the case with Philando Castile, and the way they react to a white person like Kyle Rittenhouse, who literally had an illegal gun.
Yeah. So the changes that they made to the law that held it up for a hot minute was online safety course. Who cares? It's not at all controversial. Increasing the penalty for felons having a weapon. Okay, that's not gonna be that controversial in Texas, right? People are gonna generally agree to that. But the one that they cared the most about was the cops must be able to question the person with the gun. And our sense of it is that they probably got together and were like, guys, you think we're gonna question white people with guns? Of course not. Those are good abiding American citizens, right? But imagine if there's a black guy with a gun and we can't ask him why he has it. Hair on fire. They're like, okay, we got to change the bill. We got to. But now in Texas, we don't know, right? But I'm telling you, my guess is, having seen this many times, that they probably had a conversation. Now imagine someone who looks Mexican and he's carrying around weapons. What, the cops aren't allowed to ask him why he has the weapons? They're like, oh, change it right away. Cops can ask, cops can ask. And you know how they're gonna selectively enforce. We've seen it a million times all across America. They're not gonna ask the white guy with an AR-15 walking around Walmart. We literally showed you the pictures. They walk around without a care in the world. And what did they do to John Crawford in Ohio when he had a BB gun that he was gonna buy from Walmart that he picked up at the store? They shot him in 2 seconds flat and killed him. So, look, I hope they ask in Texas when it comes to a black person or a Latino person, because most of the time, the way that it actually works is what Anna told you about Philando Castile. White guy has a gun, points it at officers, the Bundy guys, said threatens to kill the officers. We have a party with them and we, eat crumpets, etc. In January 6th, they raid the Capitol and they viciously attack police. Nobody gets shot. Except one person finally got shot when they were finally crossing the place where they could actually get to and murder the legislators, right? But before that, the cops are just viciously assaulted and nobody gets touched. But Tamir Rice, 12-year-old black boy, I can go on, I can give you dozens and dozens and dozens of cases where it was a toy gun, a BB gun, no gun at all, it was a phone, etc. They didn't ask, they just shot and killed a black guy. So that's the reality of America. And in Texas, I guarantee you they don't ask white people in general, but they will ask almost every Black and Latino person, why do you have that gun?
And this is just, I mean, this particular piece of legislation in the state of Texas is so gratuitous. It's so unnecessary considering how easy it is for Texans to access guns, to purchase guns. This is just needlessly provocative, gratuitous, you get my point. And when you look at what's happened over the weekend, I mean, are we ever gonna get to a sane place in this country in regard to gun violence, in regard to closing the loopholes when it comes to federal background checks, just common sense gun legislation? And by the way, I say this as someone who, believe it or not, despite covering these types of stories for years now, I've warmed up to gun rights, right? But not to the point where I want to get rid of all laws and regulations and just let guns run amok. No, I think that people who are law-abiding citizens, who have proven themselves to be responsible human beings should have the ability to access a gun for hunting, for going to the gun range, for whatever they think that they need the gun for. But we don't have that system in place right now, and it's far too easy for bad guys to get guns, not because we have too many gun laws, but because we have insanely weak and lax gun laws. And it bears it out in the numbers of mass shootings and gun violence, which over this past weekend really did explode. There were at least 12 mass shootings between Friday night and Saturday and Sunday, according to an analysis of data from the Gun Violence Archive. The shootings took place across 8 states: Illinois, New Jersey, Ohio, Indiana, South Carolina, Virginia, Texas, and Minnesota. So far this year, more than 7,500 people have died from gun violence across the United States. Guys, we're not even done with May yet. And that's according to the same source, Gun Violence Archive. There's also been a 23% uptick in deaths from gun violence this year.
So mass shooting is when 4 people are shot, either wounded or killed. So 12 of them, including one in Texas, obviously, 80 people injured, 11 killed, right, overall. And it's not even news. Is it major news? Did you hear about the 12 massacres that happened in America this weekend? You didn't hear about it because it's normal now. It would be, if we had no massacres this weekend, that would be breaking news. Oh my God, we went a whole weekend in America without a mass shooting. A shocking development. And in Texas, where they had some of the worst mass shootings in American history, they're now saying, we have too many gun laws. We should let everybody run amok. Okay, who cares if you're licensed, not licensed? You gonna get a car? You need a license. You gonna vote? Oh, well, we need tons and tons of voter ID and make sure that you're doing it right. Oh, you're gonna take a gun that could kill anybody at any moment? Who cares? Do anything you want. Yeah. So look, their hypocrisy is super obvious. They don't care about the massacres. They've done nothing about the massacres. You're voting for Republicans. Honestly, you're voting for massacres. And I don't share Anna's opinion. I'm not warmed up to any goddamn gun rights, okay? That doesn't mean I'm in favor of taking away everybody's guns, but I think we need to get 1,000 times stricter because this country's nuts. No other country has massacres like us nonstop. It's total insanity. So I would make gun laws way more restrictive than they are now. If you want to cry about that, oh, I got a hobby, man. And my hobby murders people every weekend. Oh, so what? Oh, 7,500 people died because of my hobby. You got a hobby, fantasy football, waste a little time. My hobby murders people. Well, what am I gonna do? Oh, don't take my freedom away. Well, I don't agree. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.